Awesome. So, for anybody new or watching this later, I'm Coral. I'm the head coach for Team Babe. This is the fifth year that we've done this session. So, it's just a nice way to close out the year, get sort of a reflective, retrospective look about, the year that we're wrapping up, then just get an intentional game plan and vision for where we want to head in the new year. So we're going to chunk this out into two different segments. Again, the first part being, where have we been kind of the last year or so? Get some wins, some action items, etc. I'll walk y'all through a few questions. And then we'll take a prospective look into 2025 and start visioning and then getting some game plan, action steps, things that will help us roll into the new year, not just with goals, but some semblance of a game plan. Not everything will be ironed out. And I do want to also just say that none of this is written in stone. Being flexible with where we're headed, just maneuvering around life as it lifes at us is really key. So also go into this with the sort of predisposition of flexibility, high grace for yourself, things that you've navigated and overcome this past year, for where you may be headed, things that you may already be aware that you're encountering in the new year, and just kind of working within those parameters, but also these ideas of abundance, of limitlessness, and expansiveness of just, what is possible. Because I think oftentimes we put kind of guardrails around ourselves to prevent us from failing, but it also can kind of box us in and create more narrow of an existence uh, than we could be living and thriving in. So, little woo going on, but it's just a fun space to be in. So, I will also say that if things are a little chaotic when you're listening to this, you can kind of chunk this out, or come back and revisit it in a more calm or present headspace. So enough kind of framing this up and teeing it off. So let's go ahead and start with 2024 reflection. So first off, and y'all just go ahead and write through this. I'll give us a couple of few minutes for each. But what are you proud of from this year? And maybe start thinking through. It might be helpful if you've got your phone. It can be, feel like quite some time since the beginning of the year if you need to kind of scroll through some photos or maybe look at your calendar about what actually you were doing way early part of the year. But what are you proud of from this year? Great. So this next one may take a little bit longer, so we'll kind of give it a couple of minutes. What are your top 3 to 5 wins from this year? And don't neglect to reflect on the smaller ones too, that may not be such kind of showstopper moments. Um, but yeah, small, big, top 3 to 5 wins. All right, so this next one will take us halfway through our 2024 reflection. What brought you the most joy in 2024? And something to consider is that, we can think of this in a sport endurance specific sort of space, but you can also take a really holistic view or do, kind of sectional reflections for different areas or aspects of your life. But where did you find some joy this past year? Alrighty. So just having done a little bit of reflecting, a little bit of uh, you know, not assessment, but just thinking through your year, this past year, what are your top three areas? And you don't have to do three if there aren't three, but what are your top three areas of opportunity from this past year? So thinking about places that you could level up going into the new year. Where do you want to advance skill sets, mindset, um, anything, relationships, anything you want to see leveling up in the year. Okay, I'll give it about 20 more seconds just in case y'all are wrapping up. Alrighty. So two more to go for our 2024 reflection. This next one, is there anything on your 2024 vision board, goal list, bucket list, whatever, or even, prior to 2024, years past, that you need to or would like to move into the new year? So this is sort of our like unfinished business. If there's something even, 5, 10 plus years ago that you had to hit the pause button on or stick a pin in, is that something that maybe you can bring forward into the new year? So um anything, and it can be a couple items or, you know, just one or none. That's okay too. All right. And this is one of my personal favorite questions. And I think a lot of times we tend to take an additive approach. What can we do more of, or be more of, or add in to elevate, or, whatever. Sometimes it's more of a creating space equation where we need to let go of or set something down so that we can move forward. So is there anything in your life, that you're kind of, as you're reflecting on this past year, are there any aspects of your life, whether it be mentally, emotionally, habit-wise, relationships, surroundings, social, connections, what have you, that you can just set down on this space in the calendar and walk forward into the new year, perhaps a little bit lighter, a little bit freer, a little bit more space. Anything in your life that's not serving you that you can identify readily. Alrighty. So that's 2024. And again, as I'll send these questions out after, as well as post the recording. So if there's anything that y'all need to feeling like we're moving through it a little bit too quickly, I'm sorry. But everybody's got, more or less, but if you need to go back and revisit and kind of flesh out your thoughts, I really encourage you to do that. I also encourage y'all, and this is just a sidebar, look at this a couple of times over the next couple weeks. There's other things that may occur to you, but just kind of crystallizing these reflections just to do it once, that's great. But to really kind of let it sink in and steep in it, and meditate on it a little bit over the next couple of weeks can be really helpful, and just kind of settling into that headspace of where you've been and where you're headed. So speaking of where we're headed, I want y'all to get your vision goggles on. You can close your eyes if you'd like. I'd really encourage that. So in your mind's eye, vision that, it is December 31st of 2025. We're, a year out. What's happened for you this past year? How does it feel? And who are you in this moment, having journeyed through the past 365 days? And just, you can think about that, for a few moments, just free flow, write down, what does this day feel like, look like? Is there anything that's kind of hitting you in the brain? You can write that down too. Just something to ruminate on for a couple of moments. Alrighty, thank you guys. So that perhaps sometimes can render some interesting things. But from this vision, go ahead and list your top 3 to 5 goals, intentions, uh, future moments that you'd like to experience for this coming year. Give you all about maybe 30 more seconds if you need. All right. So there's a saying that I like to help that helps frame a lot of this approach, and it's begin with the end in mind. And this is what we're doing. So you figure out where the heck it is you want to go. Where do we want to end up? And again, this is intention. It doesn't always pan out this way, but so much better to have an idea and then work our way backwards to figure out what is that pathway, what do those stepping stones look like from we've got this, point. It's not necessarily an end goal because we're going to still move beyond it, hopefully, as we arrive and then continue forward in life. But what does the sort of stepstone look like from where we're at right now towards this sort of next intentional point that we want to hit, over the course of the next year or so. And so beginning with the end in mind helps us arrive most effectively and efficiently at that space. So with all that in mind, let's go ahead and get a little bit of a game plan, put some of these larger stepstones in place. So and I'm going to encourage y'all to break this out into monthly, weekly, daily. You also may want to think quarterly. But what does this person who accomplishes these goals or has these experiences or intentions, what are they doing on a quarterly, monthly? And you can just jot down a couple of thoughts as they come to you, weekly, daily basis. So, because there are some big things sometimes that we need to hit to hitting these bigger goals, but oftentimes it's just these smaller daily, weekly, monthly consistencies of just showing up and putting in this sort of drip effort over time that allows us to inch our way closer and closer and closer. It also keeps it sustainable, right? And that's the stuff that sticks. So again, thinking quarterly or monthly and or both, weekly, daily. And those sometimes might just be all the same things. So if you're still writing some thoughts, go ahead and jot down maybe your last one or two, and then we're gonna move into, it's gonna be pretty similar. But just reflecting on those things that this person, your future self, your next best future self, um, and what they're doing on a daily, weekly, monthly, etc. basis. What is this self doing differently from your current self? So is this different habits, different mindset, different space? Are there different people surrounding you? Um, what is what does that look like? And again, what is the self doing differently than your current self? Different habits, mindset, community, support system. Give it about 15, 20 more seconds. Okay. And then just something else to consider. Can you identify 3 to 5 resources? This could be your support network, family, friends, coach, mentor, books, other materials that can help you in creating an action plan from these habits and intentions. Some of these you might already have engaged, others you may need to seek out, and that's okay. Alrighty, so before the last question, I just want to leave y'all with a couple closing thoughts. Um, there's We're oftentimes our own harshest critics, and so just a few things that I hope that from my perspective, that I hope that y'all take with you into the new year is grace, finding joy in the process, but also joy in chasing hard things and giving yourself room to iterate. Oftentimes, this is called failure. But if we're playing it safe, like if we're hitting the mark every single time, we're playing it too safe. Because having that assurance that you're going to hit the mark every single time, we're playing below our growth curve, right? And so when we stretch and reach, and I'm not saying this has to be something that we do all the time, every day, these big reaches for greatness, but it's really in just this like edging toward in like this drip effort, right? Like edging towards this next best version of ourselves, growth, all of these things. It happens in very, usually not in like big bursts. It's usually very incremental. Sometimes we're walking it back a little bit to walk it forward, resting so that we can move to this next level, so being kind with ourselves in the process, finding joy in hard things, all of that. Not being afraid, this is another big one, not being afraid to reach out for help, saying you don't know um, how to maybe get to this next space. Like, this is the beauty in community like Babe, or the ones that you have cultivated on your own, or, are intentionally part of, is that we're not meant to do these hard things by ourselves. We have mentors and friends and teachers, people that care for us and love on us, that will have sage wisdom, or perhaps a pathway that they can share that has worked for them. Ours may not look the same, but knowing that other people have broken it down and they can share what's worked for them. Asking is so helpful to save ourselves some of the pain points along the way. We'll probably still encounter them, but that's okay. So please reach out for help, and for knowledge, and support. Just a couple other things. Habits. Sometimes we need to cultivate habits for an identity we don't yet have. Okay, so if you want, one of the best books I've ever read on this topic is Atomic Habits. If anybody's been around for a while, you probably have heard me reference this, by James Clear. But there's a massive interplay between habits and identity. And one of the beautiful things about really getting intentional with how we're crafting these small consistencies, it can be as simple as, um, just showing up to the place where we're going to do the thing that we haven't done yet. So like, if maybe strength training is one of, like, getting strong, maybe if that's one of your goals for 2025, but you don't, and I'm saying this very hypothetically, you can do a lot of strength work at home anyway. But let's just take, like, you're gonna go to the gym and do some great strength work a couple times a week, lift some heavy shit. Maybe the gym gives you a little bit of like, I don't fit in sort of vibe. Can you just make a habit of going to the gym and just like being in the parking lot for a few days? Like, just create and like build that into your routine. And then you like go for 10 minutes. Maybe you're not even touching the strength equipment. Maybe you're just doing a dynamic warm up. And then we can, so that's what I'm saying, is like, it doesn't have to be like a light switch. If it can be more like a rheostat where we're like, adjusting into the intensity or the level of this habit, breaking it down can be very, very helpful. Like, to the point where sometimes it almost feels silly. That's okay, because it makes it more approachable. And again, this stuff is more likely to stick if we make it easy. Um, so yeah, create simple habits that are sustainable, because when stuff happens, it always will, life gets busy, things get thrown at us, we fall to the level of our habits. And also, in order to cultivate newer identities, we need to sometimes set the habits that will walk us into, being that next version of ourselves, whoever that may be. And again, simple consistencies. That's really where the magic happens. It is not Instagram worthy. That's not where, people celebrate the finish lines and all of these like kind of snapshot moments, frame-worthy moments, if you will. But the magic, mirror quoting here because it's not magic, it's just simple, consistent wins. If we just keep showing up, some days it's not going to happen. That's okay. But knowing that we can regenerate the momentum, get back if we have an off day, a missed day, an imperfect day, knowing that we can lean into our own ability to create the momentum for ourselves, or again, lean on other people that will help kind of lift us back on board. And leaning into that, though, is so key. And again, it's not It's not wild. It just works. So yeah, that's it. Have a plan, keep it simple. Um, you can have the most epic plan in the world, but if it's too complicated, if it is too aggressive for where you're at, then it's not the right plan for you. It's not the perfect plan for you. So the best plan, the best pathway is something that you can stick to most consistently, more often than not. So yeah, set one that enables you to be consistently good, not occasionally great. That's my spiel. Oh, I'm so sorry, you guys. I had one more question that wasn't on here that I wanted to kind of close with. One of the things that this is just a practice that I've loved for myself that I've shared with a few of the athletes I've worked with over the past few years. And it's rather than, kind of, you can write out your intentions and all these things. But sometimes having like a guiding word or like your theme, like can you think of a word that will help you set a tone for your year? Just as you're scanning through, mine a couple years ago was joy. Um, Space has been another one, intention. Um, it can be anything, but sometimes this is a helpful thing to just keep, above your desk, on your calendar. I've even seen people like, get like a bracelet or a charm that like, or if it's really sticking, like a tattoo, something that they can just carry with them that kind of jogs your memory and kind of brings you back to center when you're either having a sticky spot or kind of need to get uh, intentional once again, or while you're processing things. It can just help kind of set the lens from where we're making decisions or setting actions or anything like that. And this may be something that you come back to a little bit while you're ruminating on it. Sometimes it just hits you square in the forehead. That's cool too. Okay, so that's officially it. Um, so sorry, I missed a couple of comments in the chat, but if y'all want to, you're welcome to share any, like, I'm gonna stop recording, by the way.